Hello students, today we will start with a new lesson in History Unit 7, Anti-Colonial Movements and the Birth of Nationalism. Anti-colonial movements means opposing or resisting the British rule in India. In this lesson, we will study about how the British East India Company took the control over our country and also about some revolts that took place against the British rule in India. Initially, the British came to India for the purpose of trade, but in Bengal they had some disputes with the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj ud Dowla. So therefore the British wanted to defeat Siraj ud Dowla. A separate army was formed by the British in order to defeat Siraj ud Dowla, and the commander-in-chief of that British army was Robert Clive. The British got the support of Mir Jafar, who was the uncle of Siraj ud Dowla, and he was also the chief of Nawab's army. Jagat Seth, who was a moneylender in Bengal, also helped Clive to defeat Siraj ud Dowla. On 23rd June 1757, the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj ud Dowla, was defeated by the East India Company at the Battle of Plassey. Between 1757 and 1760, the company, that is the British East India Company, received rupees 22.5 million from Mir Jafar. And then Mir Jafar became the new Nawab of Bengal. The British invested the money, that is rupees 22.5 million, in starting many industries in Britain. On the other hand, India was led to the path of deindustrialization. That is, the British did not give any permission to start new industries in India, and therefore Indians were forced to buy the products manufactured in Britain. Thus, the plunder of India by the East India Company continued for another 190 years. Peasants and tribal resistance. After the Battle of Plassey, the British expanded its rule in India. Starting from Bengal, soon all other parts of the country also came under the control of the British. The people of the upper class and urbans were engaged in various social reforms, that is, bringing some changes in the society based on rational thoughts and Western ideas. Rational thoughts means thinking of what is right and what is wrong and making a clear decision, which means Pagutarivu. While the people of the upper class and the urbans were busy in various social reforms, a very aggressive, that is a very violent response to the British emerged in rural India. Especially the peasants and the tribals were the first to protest against the British. Their aim was not to remove the British rule in India. They made an attempt to restore the old way of living. There were nearly 100% uprisings during the British rule. Uprisings means revolt. These peasant uprisings can be classified into the following categories. The first one is the restorative rebellion. This type of agitation attempts to restore the old order and old social relations. That is, agitation means kilarchi, a forceful disturbance in the society to achieve something. This type of agitation attempts to restore the old lifestyle which was followed in the society before the entry of the British rule. Second one is the religious movements. The religious movements was led by religious leaders. They also fought for the freedom of the local people. Third one is the social banditry. Social banditry means an organized crime involving threat or violence. That is, some group of people started to plunder the wealth and they started to attack the Indians who supported the British. They were considered as criminals by the British, but the local population considered them as their heroes or champions of their cause. Mass insurrection. Mass insurrection. Insurrection means violence action against the government. It is usually an agitation without a leader, and it takes place every now and then at any place suddenly. Changes in the revenue system. The British restructured the Mughal revenue system in India. Due to this new method of the revenue system introduced by the British, the peasants had to pay more tax. Before the entry of the British rule in India, there were no private ownership of land. Subletting of land. Subletting of land is the lease system. We know that the British started the zamindari system. The zamindars acted as an intermediate between the British and the peasants. They have to collect tax from the peasants and they have to pay the British. This practice of lease system complicated the agrarian relations. That is, it complicated the land ownership and land tenure process. The zamindar often provide the land for lease to many subordinate lords, who in turn collected a fixed amount of revenue from the peasants who cultivate on those lands. This increased the tax burden on the peasants. Peasant uprising. We know that the peasants are the poor farmers. These peasants revolted against the British, and this revolt started in the early 19th century and continued till the very end of the British rule in India. The first such revolt of the peasants was the Farazi movement. The Farazi movement was launched by Haji Shariatullah in the year 1818. After the death of Shariatullah in the year 1839, the rebellion was led by his son Dudu Mian. Dudu Mian said the peasants not to pay tax. Dudu Mian gained popularity among the peasants when he declared that land belongs to God and collecting rent or levying taxes on it was therefore against divine law. Large number of peasants from various villages joined the organization. After the death of Dudu Mian in the year 1862, the revolt was renewed in the year 1870s by Noah Mian. Wahhabi rebellion in Basra. The Wahhabi rebellion was an anti-imperial and anti-landlord movement. That is, the Wahhabi rebellion opposed to the British control over India and the zamindari system. The Wahhabi rebellion originated in and around 1827 in the Basarat region of Bengal. This Wahhabi rebellion was led by an Islamic preacher, Tatu Mir, who was deeply influenced by the Wahhabi teaching. Tatu Mir gained popularity among the Muslim peasants who were affected by the zamindari system. Tribal uprising. We all know that the tribes live in forest. During the British rule in India, the British commercialized the forest area. That is, they started to use the forest area for their own profit. Therefore, this led to the disintegration of the traditional tribal system. So, most of the tribes were forced to move out of the forest. Moreover, the non-tribal people like moneylenders, traders, land grabbers and contractors began to occupy the forest area. This was the reason which led to the tribal revolt. Cold Revolt. This tribal revolt took place in Chota Nagpur and Singhbum region during the year 1831 and 1832. This Cold Revolt took place under the leadership of Bindrai and Shingrai. Raja of Chota Nagpur gave the rights and job of revenue collection to the moneylenders. The tribes were forced to move out of their homeland, and this led to the rise of the Cold Revolt. Initially, the tribes started to protest by plundering and attacking the properties of the outsiders who entered the forest. Later, they started to kill the moneylenders and merchants. The tribal leaders adopted the method of beating of drums in order to warn the outsiders to leave the forest. Finally, the British suppressed the rebellion with great violence. Santhal Hul. Santhal Hul are another group of tribes who also revolted against the British. Insurrection means a violent action against the government. The Santhal Hul tribes survived in the various parts of eastern India. They were forced to move out of their homeland because the forests around the Rajmahal hills were cleared for the purpose of jamindars and for railway construction. So, the Santhal Hul were forced to move out of their homeland, and they were also forced to rely on moneylenders for money for their survival. So therefore, the burden of debt also increased. The Santhal Hul tribals were oppressed by the local police. Now let us see the outbreak of the revolt. Around 1854, Bir Singh, who was a tribal, he was involved in social banditry. Social banditry means an organized crime. He mainly plundered and attacked the Mahajans and the traders. In 1855, two Santhal brothers named Sidhu and Kanu said that they had received a divine message from the god asking them to lead the rebellion. By July 1855, the rebellion broke out against the Mahajans, Jamindars and the British officials. The tribals marched with bows, poisoned arrows, axes and swords, and they captured Rajmahal and Bahalpur region. And they also said that the company rule was about to end. On hearing this, the British destroyed the tribal villages and also the properties. In 1855, an act was passed to control and maintain the territories occupied by the Santhals. According to this act, The Santal tribals were provided a separate division of territory called the Santal Pragana division. The next type of tribal rebellion we are going to see about is Munda rebellion. In Ranchi, the Munda people were familiar with the cooperative or collective farming known as Kuntkati, which means joint holding land system. This collective farming system was totally suppressed by the private ownership of land by the merchants and moneylenders. So therefore, a very important tribal rebellion occurred in Ranchi, which is known as Ulgulan rebellion, that is the Great Tumult. The Munda people were forcefully treated as slaves and they were asked to work as laborers on plantations. In the 1890s, the tribal chief revolted and protested against the alienation of the tribal people from their land. That is, he protested against the shifting of tribal people from their homeland and also against the Beth Behari or forced labor, which means the slavery system. So the chief of the tribals protested against the shifting of tribals from the original land and also against the slavery system. The movement received an importance when Birsa Munda declared himself as the messenger of God. That is, Birsa Munda declared himself as the messenger of God and he started to provide a supernatural solution to the problems of Munda people. And he also accompanied the establishment of Birsait Raj. During the night meetings, the Munda people planned for the revolt. In the year 1889, on the Christmas day, the revolt started in a violent manner. Buildings were burned down and arrows were shot at Christian missionaries and Munda Christian converts. Similar attacks were carried out over the next few months. Even the police stations and government officials were attacked. Finally, the tribals were crushed and Birsa Munda was arrested in February 1900 and he later died in jail. Birsa Munda became a folk hero and he is still remembered and celebrated in many folk songs. So after this Munda rebellion, it prompted the British to formulate a policy on the tribal land. So as per the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act 1908, the government restricted the entry of non-tribal people into the tribal land. That is, the non-tribal people are not allowed to enter and disturb the tribal people in the tribal land. The next topic we are going to see about is the Great Rebellion of 1857. In the year 1857, British rule faced the biggest challenge to its existence in India because the revolt that took place in the year 1857 is considered as the major revolt against the British rule in India, hence the name the Great Rebellion of 1857. Initially, the revolt began as a mutiny of Bengal Presidency sepoys. That is, initially, the revolt started as a mutiny with few sepoys in Bengal Presidency, but later expanded to other parts of India involving a large number of civilians. So later on, the public also started to join in that revolt, especially the peasants. The events of 1857-58 are important for the following reasons. This was the first major revolt of armed forces. Armed forces includes the military, naval and the air forces. So this revolt was considered as the major revolt of armed forces along with the civilian rebellion. Civilian rebellion means the public participation in the revolt. The second event is the revolt witnessed violence in both sides. The third event is the revolt ended the role of the East India Company and therefore the governance of Indian subcontinent came under the control of the British Crown. Now let us see the causes that led to the Great Rebellion. The first one is the annexation policy of British India. Here let us see how the British took the control of various territories in India. In the 1840s and 1850s, more territories were annexed through two major policies. The first one is the doctrine of paramountcy. According to this policy, the British claimed themselves as a superior power and they considered themselves as a supreme or a paramount, and they blamed the Indian rulers that they are unskillful and not eligible to rule the country. And this is how they annexed new territories. And the second one is the doctrine of lapse policy. According to this policy, if a native ruler did not have a male child to hire the throne, then that territory will come under the British rule after the death of the ruler. This is how Satara, Sambalpur, parts of Punjab, Jhansi and Nagpur were annexed by the British through the policy of doctrine of lapse. The second cause for the Great Rebellion was the insensitivity to Indian cultural sentiments. That is, the British did not show any concern for the Indian cultural sentiments. In the year 1806, the sepoys at Vellore mutinied against the new dress code. A new dress code was introduced by the British which prohibited Indians from wearing religious marks on their forehead and having whiskers on their chin. Moreover, a round hat was introduced with a turban made of leather. This was disliked by most of the Indian sepoys. It was feared that the new dress code was part of their effort, that is, they considered it as a British effort to convert the soldiers to Christianity. Similarly, in the year 1824, the sepoys at Barakpur near Calcutta refused to go to Burma by sea because they considered that crossing the sea meant the loss of their caste. The sepoys were also upset with discrimination in salary and promotion. The Indian sepoys especially, were paid very less salary and they were not given proper promotion. So therefore the Indian sepoys felt humiliated and racially abused by their seniors. The revolt. Now let us see the initiatives of the revolt. The initial cause of the revolt was the circulation of rumors about the cartridges of the new Enfield rifle. The cartridges are the metal case in which the bullets are loaded. The cartridges had to be bitten off before loading. There was a strong doubt among the Indian sepoys that the new cartridges had been greased with cow and pig fat. that is, they had a doubt that either a cow fat or a pig fat may be applied on the cartridges. We know that the pig fat is forbidden to the Muslims and the cow is considered to be a sacred to a large section of Hindus. Since the cartridges had to be bitten before loading, the Indian sepoys were really disappointed. On 29th March, a sepoy named Mangal Pandey attacked his European officer. When the officers ordered the other Indian sepoys to arrest Mangal Pandey, they refused to do so. So therefore, Mangal Pandey along with others, that is, who refused to arrest Mangal Pandey, were hanged. On seeing this incident, the other Indian sepoys were really frustrated and they wanted to revolt against the British officers. From the following days, they started to disobey their British officers. Burning and setting of fire also took place in army cantonments like Ambla, Lucknow and Meerut. Bahadur Shah proclaimed as Emperor of Hindustan. Now let us see how Bahadur Shah became the Emperor of Hindustan. On 11th May 1857, a band of sepoys from Meerut marched to the Red Fort in Delhi. The sepoys were followed by the public. They together asked the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah to become the leader. Initially, the emperor refused, but later he accepted the offer, and thus Bahadur Shah too became the Emperor of Hindustan. He was titled as the Shahenshah-e Hindustan, which means the Emperor of Hindustan. The rebels started to capture the northwestern province and Awadh. Then they captured Delhi and moved towards the Ganges Valley, and they started to capture one by one from British. And finally, they captured the whole of North India from the British except Punjab and Bengal. The civil rebellion. The rural people in the North India supported the mutiny. The sepoys in the British army were mostly peasants. So, they were also affected by the revenue system which was introduced by the British. Therefore, the first civil rebellion broke out in some parts of the northwestern provinces and Awadh. Even the Jamindars and Talukdars also supported the rebellions because they lost their privileges from the British. In many states, as the emperor rule were destroyed, the artisans and handicrafts, that is the persons who were skilled in art, craft and trade, were greatly affected. Even the weavers were greatly affected because the British started to dump their manufactured goods in India and they forced the Indians to buy the foreign goods. So therefore, about thousands of weavers were thrown out of employment. All this collective anger against the British took the form of a people's revolt. Prominent fighters against the British. The aggrieved kings, that is, those kings who were affected by the British. So the aggrieved kings, Nawabs, queens and Jamindars joined the mutiny in order to express their anger towards the British. Each of them had their own reason to join the mutiny. Nana Sahib who was the adopted son of the last Peshwa Baji Rao II, provided leadership in the Kanpur region because he was denied pension by the British Company. Similarly, Begum Hasarat Mahal in Lucknow and Khan Bahadur in Bareilly took the command of the respective territories, which were once ruled by them or by their ancestors. Another important leader was Rani Lakshmi Bai. She provided leadership in the Jhansi region. As by the policy of doctrine of lapse, her territory was annexed by the British. As they do not have a male child, after the death of the husband of Jhansi, her territory was annexed by the British. Dalhousie, who was the Governor General in Bengal, had refused the request of Jhansi to adopt a son as her successor after her husband's death. Rani Lakshmi Bai battled the mighty British army until she was defeated. Likewise, Bahadur Shah Jafar, Kunwar Singh, Khan Bahadur, Rani Lakshmi Bai, and many others joined the mutiny as they were compelled by the bravery of the sepoys who had defied the British authority. Suppression of rebellion. By the beginning of June 1857, the British started to suppress the rebellions and they started to recapture the territories in North India. Delhi, Meerut, Rohilkhand, Agra, Allahabad and Banaras divisions had been restored to British control and they were placed under the military rule, that is the martial law. Causes of failure. Now let us see what were the causes that led to the failure of the Great Rebellion of 1857. The British started to recapture the territories in North India. Some of the causes that led to the failure of this rebellion was the Indian princes, except the princes of few Indian states, most of the Indian princes did not show any interest to participate in the rebellion. Most of the Indian princes and Jamindars were either loyal to the British or they were fearful of the British power. And the third reason was those who were involved in the rebellion had very less weapons and ammunition. And also the educated middle class also did not show any interest and they did not support the rebellion. One of the important reasons for the failure of the rebellion was the absence of a central leadership. There was no common plan that united the individuals in the rebellion. That is, they did not have a common plan and each of them joined the rebellion for their own reason. At the end, the rebellion was brutally suppressed by the British army. The rebel leaders were defeated due to lack of weapons, organization, discipline, and betrayal by their side. Delhi was captured by the British troops in late 1857. Bahadur Shah was captured and he was transported to Burma. India becomes a crown colony. By the Government of India Act of 1858, the rule of East India Company came to an end in India. India came under the direct control of the British Crown. Queen Victoria proclaimed that the British would not interfere in traditional institutions and religious matters of Indian culture. It was also promised that the Indians would be appointed in government services. Moreover, two important changes were made in the structure of the Indian Army. The first one is the number of Indians were reduced, and the second changes is Indians were prohibited from holding important ranks and positions. That is, they were not given important ranks and positions in the government. The British took control over the armed forces and they appointed the Indians who remained loyal during 1857. That is, the British terminated the employees from Rajputs, Brahmins, and North Indian Muslims, and they appointed non-Hindu groups like Gorkhas, Sikhs, and Pathans. The British also exploited the caste, religious, linguistic, and regional differences in the Indian society through the divide and rule policy.